All right, you're welcome back. We are back like we never left the stage.
Yes,
How
yes,
are
yes.
you all doing? It's so exciting to have you all here. It's another episode, of course, of the Wealth Bridge podcast. And my name has not changed. My name is Mojupe, and I'm very, very excited to have my very personal people here doing this with me. My co-hosts, today I have Adebola and I also have Ademola. How are you doing, ladies and gentlemen?
Pumped up, fired up, super excited. All is well.
Excellent. Excellent. How are you, Debola?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back.
Excellent.
Looking forward to do what we do again today.
I know. And I know you're very excited to see my smiling face. Let's do
Yes,
it.
Uh-huh.
I
I
love
haven't
it.
said anything
I
about that.
love it.
She never said anything about that. Okay, guys, today we are having a very, very exciting conversation, and I genuinely believe that every single person in every space across board needs to hear this. And why did I say that? Because many of us, when we, get started and being asked some questions about what if life throws some, puzzles at us, and at some point in time, we probably think we might probably transition to glory, but we haven't transitioned to glory yet. Stay with me, stay with me. And so, what are those things that might probably happen to us if life happens while we're still living? Okay, for lack of better word, I just want to say I'll use the word in place of death. I'll use transition to glory. Okay. So for many decades, whenever we are asked or whenever any individual, throws out the word life insurance, the conversation has usually been about one thing, which is transitioning to glory. What happens if my family, or what happens to my family if I transition to glory? And yes, that is an incredible, important conversation. But today we're going to flip the script. You're not transitioning to glory. No one is transitioning to glory. But what if an individual or you listening to us today have to experience a serious type of ailment while you're still living? What happens? Ailments that are categorized as either critical, chronic, or terminal. The likes of heart attack, you have cancer, you have ALS, you have stroke. The goal of this conversation is not to scare anyone. What happens? Because at that point in time, you're still here, you're living, you haven't transitioned. But at those moments, there are certain things that keeps coming on. Your mortgage, the grocery, the children's bill, the bills are definitely still alive. What happens to your income? And that is where the conversation is going to take us today. We're talking about a very, very important topic that has been across board called living benefit. What benefit do you have while you're still living, yet you're faced with some of these unforeseen contingencies? Living benefit, what are they? What are they not? And how can they work? Who might qualify for it? What do you need to do to qualify for one? What could potentially be provided from this benefit? And what happens when you wait too long before you get one for yourself? Guess what? I have the easiest work today. So my co-hosts, they are prepared. They will be slicing and dicing this. Why are we having this conversation? We don't want any single person staying ignorant of what this has to offer. And so I'll take my very first question so I don't, continue to dumble into conversations. And I'll throw it and I'll have Demola please get started with us and explain what exactly living benefits are and how are they different from the traditional death benefit people normally associate with life insurance.
Awesome. Great to be here, everyone, again on the World Bridge. And, thanks, Modupe. Thank you, Adebola, for always being awesome and always bringing value to, our audience here. So, one of the things I want us to point out, just like the word says, living benefits, because I think that's very important. Because
Mm,
when we hear certain words, we are not really understanding what the words are saying. So it's that simple. Living benefits just simply means that while you're alive, while you're living, even though when something does happen, there are some benefits that you can take advantage of. There are some
mm,
things that if anything were to happen, Modupe spoke about chronic and critical illnesses. These are things that if life happens, you might be out of work. And when you're out of work, I believe your bills don't stop. So let's
mm,
let's take it back a little bit. Let's first understand from the perspective of what life insurance is. In the past, most people just understand that you could get a policy and you could have the policy. If it's a permanent policy, you like have it for as long as you continue to pay the premium, you have a coverage whereby if you pass on, your family gets something. And we also have something called term insurance as well, whereby you have it for a specific period of time, and within that specific term period, if you don't die, nothing happens except you die. So we now have most of all these things whereby in our community today, when we hear life insurance, the very first thing we're thinking about is death. And this is
mm,
where the living benefits change flips the switch. So with this living benefits now, you could have it attached to your permanent policy, you have it to your temporary policy. And what do they really do? What they do is in case life happens,
mm,
well, compared to most of all the other life insurance, whereby if you temporarily had a setback with either chronic or critical illness, nothing pays out. But in this instance, while you're living, there's some benefits that you can qualify based on the provisions or based on the riders that are attached to this policy. So this is a very awesome, addition, a very awesome add-on that's been added to life insurance policy that
mm,
some people might not be aware of. So anytime, folks, you're talking about life insurance, be asking the person, your agent, the person who's talking to you, be asking, does this come with living benefits? Those living benefits, do I qualify? And there's so many factors to how you can qualify, what you need to do, to get this. And not every single policy has. So some companies have these provisions for this living benefits, some don't have. But in this case, whereby we're talking about, God forbid, just imagine somebody has cancer or somebody has stroke. Now you can't go back to work because you're focused on healing, as opposed to, your income stops right there. Even if you are on disability, what percentage of your income is coming in with disability? Guess what?
mm.
Your bills don't stop. But if you have this living benefit, it can be a supplemental income or an income replacement, depending on how this policy was structured. So I'll leave it at that because there's a lot of in-depth that we can go in, and we have more questions too. I believe there are more things that we'd love to touch on, but that will be on the surface level to understand what these living benefits can do for us.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the fact that you actually went in depth. I think you kind of covered my second question. I'm probably going to be moving to my third. But before I do that, I'm saying this is very, very powerful. So already we've established something very important, audience. Living benefit don't mean every illness automatically produce the benefit. It means you just don't say, oh, because I have headache and because I have a policy, that comes with a living benefit, I rather be getting a benefit from them. It doesn't work that way. So they are based on actual policy contract. There are certain specific qualification or qualifying conditions that need to be met, such that, you have to have a primary physician, actually attest to that. So it cannot be assumed. And you did touch about why this should be very, very important to any ordinary family. Because again, they have a life to run, there's still a family to run. And this comes very handy, in the event we have to deal with such situation. And again, like we said, this is an eye opener. We hope somebody goes home with something. And so somebody is listening right now, Adebola, and they're saying, hold on, Jupe, Adebola, Ademola. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I have an excellent health insurance through my employer. Why should I even think about having a living benefit? Let's clear up the air. Are living benefit health insurance? Are they disability insurance? Is it long-term care insurance? What are they not? Over to you, Adebola.
All right, let's dig into it. That's a great question. Because that's one of the questions one of the responses we get a lot of time when we're talking with clients, and they tell us, oh, I have health insurance with my employer. But really, the health insurance that we do have with our employers, I used to have one. It's not the same thing as what we're talking about today. They don't meet the same need. Okay, so this is, it's such an important distinction. Living benefits should not automatically be treated as a replacement for health insurance, because health insurance primarily helps address, eligible medical expenses according to the health plan. But think about all the expenses in your life that aren't medical bills. Your mortgage, your mortgage company doesn't ask, oh, are you undergoing chemotherapy? Oh, okay, don't worry about your mortgage this month. Just because you are sick, just because you are in the hospital. Say, all right, don't worry about it. We're going to just, it's going to be on the house. That doesn't happen. The grocery store doesn't stop charging you because you're recovering from an ailment or a sickness or whatever it is, from stroke or whatever it is. Your child's tuition doesn't disappear. Your electricity bill or any of those expenses, your daily expenses, they don't go away because you are sick. And that's why a lot of people end up without work during that period, because they are not able to go to work. After a while, the employer might say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't, we can't help you any further. Maybe after some period of time, they've paid your bills, or you've used your time, or the disability that doesn't really go far more than 3 months or 6 months, whatever it is, and it's not even enough to take care of your living expenses. So likewise, living benefit provisions are not automatically the same as disability income insurance. Disability coverage is specifically designed around like replacing a portion of income. When a qualifying disability, it prevents you from working. And living benefits, rather, should not automatically be described as comprehensive long-term also, because that is something different. There are different tools designed to address different risks. So think about a toolbox. You have a hammer, as that has its own purpose. You have a screwdriver that has to do something else. You have a wrench that has, so you don't throw away the screwdriver because you bought a hammer. So financial protection can work the same way. Health insurance, disability protection, emergency savings, life insurance, and all these things meet different needs. But you have to put them together so that you will secure yourself, secure your family, and you protect yourself in case anything happens, and then you are not able to work. So the goal is not simply to own a product, own this product. The goal is to understand what financial risk your household has and determine which of these tools is appropriate to address that need. So I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Adebola. I like the toolbox analogy, to be honest. And I hope somebody caught it. If you're either catching up this live section or you're catching up on a replay, I hope you caught the toolbox analogy, because what this conversation is not is literally telling us have this, therefore I don't need any of this. Mm-mm. It's not one or the other. So the better question is, what risk does each tool in my toolbox actually is doing to protect me against? What is this protecting me against? And what could this benefit potentially be used for? So I like the fact that you took us to that path. And that takes us to, let's delve a little bit into this. And Ademola, I don't know if how you could make this very, very relatable. The goal of our podcast is to ensure that somebody catches up on it and they learn one or two things from there. Let's say somebody actually experiences a qualifying event. We talked about qualifying conditions before they could get the living benefit, because it's not like, now, I have stomach ache. Now you qualify for the benefit and that kind of a thing. So, and a person actually experiencing a qualifying event and their policy permits them to increase a living benefit, right? Permits them to access it rather. What could that money potentially do to the family, to accomplish during their difficult season? In case somebody's wondering, so is this money for what? What can I use it for? I'm sure that would help somebody
Well, I mean,
understand this better.
also, Modupe, that's one of the first thing that you must think about when it comes to any portfolio you're putting together, whether health portfolio, financial portfolio. One of the key things that those things do for you is peace of mind. And I
Mm,
think this is one of the things that we don't talk often enough about.
mhm,
Just like the same scenario which Adibola just painted with a toolbox scenario. Now this person has critical illness or chronic illness. As long as it's qualified, it's been certified by a physician that this is what this person has. Now you now qualify to assess those benefits. Now let's say somebody has a stroke and they can't go back to work. Let's say this
mhm,
person, mid 40s, they're mid 40s, they're married, they
mhm,
have kids. Now they can't go back to work. In a traditional setting, if somebody did not have a living benefit, guess what? Now this person is focused while they're supposed to be healing. They can't focus on healing because they're also
mhm.
thinking about their financial obligations. Now,
That's
most
right.
times when you look at how people respond to treatment, most times statistics shows that we don't respond more to treatment when emotionally we are not even balanced. So now
Yeah.
you have somebody who's the breadwinner of the family, or even
Mhm,
somebody who's bringing half the income. Now half of the income is gone because of a life-threatening event. Now this person
mhm,
is not dead, remember, but the income that should have been coming from this person, that income has been incapacitated. So, in the case whereby a critical illness or chronic illness is triggered, now that's money that comes to that family that can help them continue with buying groceries, that can help them paying their bills, take care of all this, giving the family peace of mind. Because, brethren, my brothers and sisters, God forbid if you had to have a critical illness, you had to have a stroke, will your bill stop?
mhm,
mm,
It wouldn't stop. Would your car payment stop? It wouldn't stop. Would you need to
mhm,
put food on the table for your kids? Yes. So, but when you have this living benefit, it gives you peace of mind, whereby now you can focus on treatment, on getting well, whereby income is still coming to take care of your financial obligation. And I think this is something that we don't talk about. And this podcast is tailored more to people in the diaspora. So especially if you're not American and you don't have a living benefit policy, this is something that you want to jump on like yesterday, because
mhm.
waiting on these, you never know if you're going to be the next one that's going to be hit with a critical or chronic illness. I'll turn it over back to you, Mudupe.
Thank you, Demola. I mean, while this is very important and it comes with a whole lot of emotions, I like for us to be very, very fair and objective in our conversation. So there is one thing that stood out in all what we've been hearing from Demola and Debola. And that word that stood out to me is options, OPTIONS. So when life changes unexpectedly on us, having financial options can make a tremendous difference. But when we don't have options, right, we're stuck in a box. Our conversation today is saying, think out of the box and begin to ask yourself, what options are available for me? But now I want us to address another group of people, because somebody listening up may be thinking, this sounds important for families. I'm still single. I'm not yet there. When I get to that milestone, we'll have conversations around it. So let's talk about my single professionals first. No spouse, no children, yet you have excellent income, right?
Excuse me.
Let's add even you, an entrepreneur whose business depends, heavily on them. And if they're asking the question, why should either of these people even care about living protection? What would you say, Adebola?
All right, sorry for that. Okay, why should single people care? No,
About having living protection? Because some people
yeah,
might be out there saying,
I'm just
I'm
trying
not
to,
married. Why am I bothered about it?
I'm just trying to think back. We've seen it, we've heard some of these questions. Some of
Yep.
this concern, and
Mm-hmm.
some people just feel, okay, I don't have kids, I don't have anybody. If I die, I don't have anybody that's going to suffer or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about that now. We're talking about you. We're talking about
Living. Mhm.
living benefit. We're talking about things that you can benefit from while you're still alive.
Alive.
No spouse, no children, good income. But the thing is that, like we always ask, you know, falling sick or life happening, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And nobody knows when. We've seen things happen to the most healthy people. I mean, some tell you that, oh, in my family, we we grow very old. My grandmother is 120. My grandmother died at 120. My father is 100 and all that. But the next thing you know, that something happens to that person.
Mm.
And that is why we're so passionate. It's like it's scary that don't let us just be out there without protection.
Mhm.
Let's not just be out there without protection. Sometimes the single person may actually need to think about this conversation very carefully, because if you're single and your income stops, whose second income are you falling back on? Unlike married people, somebody may be sick. It's very uncommon for both of them to be sick at the same time. So they might be able to fall back on the income of the other person. But as a single person, you don't have a second income to fall back on.
Mm.
Maybe nobody in your life. You may still have rent or mortgage to pay, car payments, student loan, that beautiful lifestyle, that you have. But where is the income coming from? And maybe you're supporting your parents or relatives. This is especially relevant in many immigrants and families. And we are supporting people back home, here and there. So one person's paycheck may be helping a household here in America and all over the place. So if that income is stopped, the financial impact can seriously affect a lot of people, not only you, including those parents that you are helping, those relatives that you love so much. And then, like Demola mentioned before, the emotional effect on you, like research have shown that a lot of people, when they're diagnosed with a particular sickness or ailment, and if it's terminal, let me put it that way, that many people even die not because of that disease, but because of the emotional imbalance, because of lack of funds to take care of themselves or to take care of the family that they have. That the thought of that, the depression or whatever it is that happens, kills people faster than the disease itself.
Yeah.
When people have a peace of mind that, okay, there's fun for me to take care of myself, at the same time to pay my bills and to take care of other things, to take care of my lifestyle, then you have that peace of mind to even respond to the treatment. We've seen it happen. People
Yes.
getting better, because they have the fund and going back to doing other things afterwards.
Mm.
So if you are the rainmaker, the person meeting clients, generating revenue, making decisions and keeping everything moving, what happens if you are not able to operate at full capacity for 6 months?
Hmm.
Mm.
So whether you're married, single, a parent, an employee, or an entrepreneur, the fundamental question remains: who and what financially depends upon my ability to keep earning and functioning? Once you answer that question,
You're good to go.
protection planning becomes
Mm.
much personal. You want to make sure that you do everything that you can in your power to make sure that those people or that thing or whatever it is doesn't suffer. So it doesn't matter if you're married or not. You need this. You need living benefits, and that is what we're saying today. Thank you, Mr.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I like the fact that you broke it down and you stressed on the question every single person coming across this podcast, this particular episode should run with. Who or what depends upon my ability to earn? If you are able to answer that question, then you want to swing into action. But many people out there would say, yeah, yeah, I heard about this. I heard about it 2 years ago. I would do it. I don't have the bandwidth now. I would do it later, which is what I call the University of Procrastination, which
Mhm.
is the largest, right, nation in the world. So, Demola, you're going to help
Holiday.
me and help the audience. What is wrong with waiting? I will
Uh,
look into this next year. What can change when somebody keeps postponing the protection conversation? And I'm talking about specifically the one with the living benefits.
awesome, awesome, awesome. They often say the losing game, the waiting game is a losing game.
It's a losing game.
Mhm.
The more you continue to wait, like Modupe just said, the biggest nation is procrastination. One of my mentors always say, procrastinate against procrastination.
Yeah,
and and we must understand that the foundation of every wealth building strategy is protection. Once you're
that's
not
right.
protected, and the earlier you're protected, because guess what? Just like Adebola had spoken about, without that protection, everything you're building on is going to end up coming down or
Mm,
crashing. Because the only thing that helps you to support every other thing, your investment, paying off your debts, paying these, supporting parents at home, is the ability to earn an income. And
Mhm.
once the ability to earn an income is compromised, then everything comes crashing down. So to answer your question, Modupe, why it is important for one not to keep postponing that conversation of protection. Most times, this may be one of the most important parts of today's conversation if we don't address it. So insurance generally involves underwriting. There's no way you can have insurance. It goes through underwriting, and that depends on the kind of coverage.
mhm.
Insurance may consider factors such as your age, your health history, medication, lifestyle, diagnosis, and a whole bunch of different things. So let's
Gender,
imagine
demographics.
exactly
Mhm.
your gender, and all this would determine how the underwriting is being put together. So let's say, for example, somebody who is age 38, right? They are relatively healthy, they explore their options and they get protection right now. At the same age 38, what they are able to qualify for in good health. Now, let's say now this person says, you know what? I'm young, I don't need to do nothing. Then you now wait from 38, you wait till 45. Number one,
Mm,
you're older. That works against you in
Mhm.
terms of in terms of good coverage, because now you have to pay more for that insurance. Number two, at 45, there's no guarantee. The older you get, life starts to happen. Your body is changing. Everything
that's
is
right.
changing. God forbid, perhaps blood pressure because now
Mm.
you're 55, you have two kids, you're juggling between one job and the other job. You know, maybe diabetes creeps in. So
Have
things
mercy, Lord.
change. You know, you start using medication. You know, I
Mm.
remember the very first time when I just turned 40, you know, somebody told me before they turned 40, when they turned 40, they said, you know what, when you turn 40, you won't be able to see very well no more. And lo and behold, once I hit 40, I really couldn't see very well. I needed to start using reading glasses. I told my wife the same thing. And lo and behold, it did happen. So we have to understand that our body is constantly changing.
Mm.
Time waits for no man, and tomorrow is not promised. You could be healthy today, and tomorrow life throws a curveball at you. At that point, what you would have qualified for, the kind of underwriting that you would have gone through that would have favored you, now can work against you because you've waited. And that's why we say the waiting game is a losing game. So maybe you've experienced a serious medical event, you know, the conversation could be different. I want us to understand this means that what you can qualify today when you're still healthy may vary tomorrow while you're not healthy. So the
Definitely.
best time to get covered is now.
Was
Don't
Now,
yesterday.
wait.
Was
Don't
yesterday actually.
I mean, it was yesterday. You're right. It was yesterday. So
Yeah.
please, it is very important if you're listening to us this morning, this morning, I want us to understand that go see what you qualify for. Just check it. Don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared about. And guess
Yeah.
what? You could definitely leave your contact in the chat, and we could definitely help you to understand more and know what your options are. I'll throw it back to you, Modupe.
Thank you. It's been amazing. It's been, haven't you guys gotten some nugget from here? We'd like to see your reaction in the comment. We'd like to see your reaction in the comment. If you're just joining us and you're like, what are they talking about? Yeah, it's the trio. Yeah, it's the trio. We are talking about a very important topic you cannot do away with. Many people are probably not even aware of this. We realize that we have quite a few people out there who are so oblivious of the fact that life insurance policies comes up with living benefit. And that's the reason why we are letting out the cat out of the bag and saying, let us deal with this elephant in the room. We've talked about quite a few, and then you know what? We are actually past our time. I'm just going to be wrapping things up at this junction. If there's nothing you heard today, right? Go home with what are my options? Adebola said that. If there's nothing you heard today, go home and ask yourself, I do have a life insurance policy. Let me go review it or sit down with a licensed financial professional who could help me understand what is in the detail of this policy. Most of these policies are written in black and white. And of course, I can tell you for a fact they are written in English. But if some words there are jumping at you don't understand, sit down with your financial professional so they can help you understand what are your policy provisions, what are those limitations you have in your policy, and even start considering if you need to add something to what you currently have. Right? Just like they said in What is Enough for the Wise. We've seen situations whereby people have this living benefit. They encounter all this critically and chronically, aligned ailment. They were able to get claims out of their policies. They're living a better life right now because now they've gotten better with the ailment and they are gone into life to do way much more. You know what? Prevention, like they say, is better than cure.
yeah.
So protect what you think means a lot to you. If you have, you love your family and all that, make sure you're protecting them. It's all about preparedness. It's all about predicting what might happen. What if it does happen? How protected am I? What do I have? What does it actually cover? Where are my gaps? How can I fill up whatever gap that I have? Get informed, pull out your policies and start doing the needful now. Some of these policies we're talking about that comes with this, I like to call it they are not the conventional. I like to call them the revamped policies. Okay. Not everybody qualifies for them. So don't wait until that time when we now begin to hear not so good news of, no, you do not qualify for this. Go home and do something about it. It's still in the Wealth Bridge podcast. Please reach out to us if you have questions. Drop in a comment what topic you would like to hear from us next.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our topics. And of course, like, share, send to somebody else who might also learn from this. Don't keep us as your best secret. We don't want to be kept as a secret. Reach out. And until when we come to your way next time, it is bye for now. Thank you, Debola, and thank you, Demola, for doing a
Thank you,
wonderful,
Lupe.
fantastic job today.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
viewers. God bless.